Always enjoy my Friday mornings with Councillor Adam Very. This
Is this a thing now that we're going to do?
I hope not.
Okay, me neither.
We both need to get lives if we're doing this every Friday.
I tell you, I'll get a better backdrop and not just have this.
Well, maybe then we need to. And I think I'm glad you brought that up because apparently you're going to be able to afford a better backdrop. Do you want to get into it?
You know what? Before I was on council, I just used before I was on council, I used just an image of the Enterprise Bridge.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
But I was told by the clerk that it's unprofessional and unbecoming of a councillor to have a funny background. So now it's like, oh, okay, well, like I don't overly care about how it makes me look, but I don't want to be disrespecting the position, so I don't use the Star Trek background any longer.
Well, I guess then maybe maybe just a big picture of yourself. Maybe that's what you need there.
Oh, that's good.
All right, let's get into this. So you're
sure.
Not that you're going to. I'm going to give you the Coles notes of what I know, and then you can correct all of my mistakes. And also, I
love doing that. I love doing that. Go ahead.
On the economic development part, where we were talking about the accommodation tax, I said 4.5. I was wrong. I just want people to know it should have been 4%.
Yeah, super matters.
No, I guess people are different. You do hear from people, that's for sure.
Sure, no, for sure.
What I wanted to talk about. So anyway, you're going to go from 42,000 to 59,000. Not necessarily you, because it doesn't come into effect till next term.
Right.
What I did notice, and I wanted to ask you about it, was how they came to this number, because I noticed you guys had 3 different criteria you were looking at originally. The mayors went from 95 to 118. And I just want to clarify something for people. I feel that being a councillor, never been one, but knowing the workload over the years and doing these podcasts, it's a full-time job. It should be paid like one. I'm going to just bring that up right now. I think that you guys do a lot of work. I know that you yourself do, and a lot of the other councillors do. So I'm not against it, but I need to understand it better. So if you can educate me on that, go.
Well, you said to correct your details. I believe the mayor is currently at 93. I just don't want people to go out there and say, you said 95. I think it's 93.
Thank you for doing that. I have 95. Sure.
Yeah.
But that was from another news source too, so maybe I should double check that.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, I don't really look too much at what the mayor, like, for $2,000. But anyway, okay, so what was your question? So sorry, what are the 3 criteria you're talking about before?
Well, I noticed that you guys were looking at 3 different formats of how to.
I see what you're saying. Format. Yeah, right. Okay. So 3 different approaches to the argument. Yes.
Right.
So well, the one we ended up landing on was not the one that I preferred, but that's okay because it was pretty close. So I wasn't going to be quibbling over those things. So what we ended up landing on was just tying the rate to the MPP's salary, which is also tied to the MP salary. So that's a new thing that the province did and said, look, we're going to raise the MPP's rate to 75% of the MP's rate. And then so we decided at council that we would put the mayor's at 75% of the MPP's rate and then make council 50% of the mayor's rate. And so that was the math that we landed on. And that's just it. So I mean it is somewhat
it's a tiered system.
So people, pardon?
It's a tiered system that works.
Yeah, really. And so there's some logic there, and some of the other councillors sort of raised that it's somewhat arbitrary, and okay, fair enough, but then so is everything that we pay everyone always is somewhat arbitrary, no matter what the pay is, right? So it's fair. And so what staff actually did in the moment, and I can't remember exactly what it was. There's a video on YouTube that explains it, but staff actually went during a break or during someone else talking and found out how the federal government came up with the MP's salary. And the MP's salary was based on, similar work by the requirements and similar expertise levels and comparing to other industries and blah, 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 blah. And so when they did their math, they landed on the 209,000 or something, or 204,900. It's over 200.
Yeah.
And so they tacked the MPP at 75. Just the province made that decision, not the feds. And that the MPP's salary went up 35% this year. And then so like I say, for starting next term. So that's one thing I want to clear up is that and I think you may have said it, but in case you didn't, we didn't give ourselves the raise. We don't get any more money now. We finish our term at the same rate we're getting. And it's essentially, in my view, a new contract for a new set of councillors and a new mayor next time. And if you want to look at it, if you're a hockey guy or a baseball guy, the salary cap is increased essentially, and that's what it is. And so, that's anyways, that's where we landed.
A couple of questions. Like, it's classified as a part-time job, correct, counselor?
That's the thing. It's not really classified. I think it's
Okay.
the common um, historical perspective. Let's say is it's only part time and it's only this and it's only that. Okay, and it may have been one
Yeah.
day back, whenever it was decided that whenever someone first said it's only a part time job, it may have been. But now there's 73,000 people in Norfolk, and now we have several additional services that are downloaded from the province, and now we have different requirements from the province that we have to meet. And like the job is, and I'm not complaining, by the way, I'm just explaining that the
Yeah.
job is bigger than it was even 10 years ago, let alone 20 or 30 or whenever it was decided that this is a part-time job for someone that's, you know, just wants to be involved in the community and has some expertise. And so it's not part-time. It shouldn't be part-time. And I think, um, continuing to treat the job as something less than what it is, um, creates it's not just a pay issue, but it also creates an expectation level with residents maybe that I don't believe should be there anymore. That, oh, it's just part-time and you just do this and this. No, like, we got to be working, there's work to do. And I think it's just I just don't think the part-time applies anymore. It doesn't.
Well,
It clearly doesn't. And
it's been a
even
full-time
some of
job for a long time.
and even some of the counselors who um, disagreed with the amount of the increase conceded the point that it's a
Yeah.
full-time job. So it is. It just is. So and so then you can quibble about the amount that the job is worth, and that's where the debate comes in. But there was very little debate at the table that it's full-time. And so if we're agreeing that it's full-time, it's time to pay it as a full-time job.
And it did pass 5-4.
It did.
I was surprised at how close it was, to be honest with you. Like, I honestly thought most counselors would say, yeah, like I mean, it was a freeze for what, 23 and 24, correct? There was a wage freeze with you guys?
No, the first couple years, I think the first year for sure there was a wage freeze, and I just don't remember if
Yeah.
there was a second year or not. I just don't remember. We might have
Okay.
got the yeah.
Do you,
Anyways,
and just to follow up, do you guys get benefits?
no.
Like,
There is a benefit program at the county, but you have to pay into it. And for me, I did the math, and it would have cost me more to get benefits than what I would spend on benefits because I don't have a family, right? Like, I don't have
right.
kids that depend on
Well,
me.
I just didn't know if that was included in it with all the.
No.
Okay.
We are eligible for mileage, and some counselors claim it and some don't. I don't. And I'm not taking the high road. I'm just saying I don't, because I don't claim mileage to go to work, essentially, is what I'm arguing. The times where I do claim mileage, I've claimed it twice, and it's been for the conferences that I went to. Because if I'm driving to Ottawa, come on, like, I can't afford to eat that. I'm just saying, like, that's a big
Yeah,
drive. So
it
anyway,
is.
so when I do like the conference, and then I went to London for the police services board, that mileage was in there too. Because again, like, it's a little bit different than going on. It's not normal work, so I don't treat it as mileage to normal work, essentially. But when I go meet with residents or when I attend meetings and stuff, I don't claim the mileage.
I always thought too, because of what the counselors were paid, and this is just my opinion. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Is you pay for what you get. Like, if it's a full time job and you meet the requirements and you really love community and you want to run, great, do it. You're going to get a higher. I don't want to say higher. That's not a good word. A different type of person that may get involved.
Different is good. Yep.
Your thoughts?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know that. I think that I don't know. And so if that argument did come up at the table, and it's not that I disagree with it. I just, my hope is that if you tell people this is a full-time job that you will be paid at to work full-time, that you will get people who have found the idea of running for council intriguing, but have never been able to because they can't afford it. And so, is that a different group of people? Yes, it will be. Does it necessarily mean it's better? No. And as much as I would agree with the sentiment that compensation shouldn't be the main reason to run for council, you have to really want to do it, and you have to love it too, at any amount of money, because if you're not into it, no amount of money is going to feel good to you when the stress and all the hard things happen. But as much as I don't think it should be an incentive to run for council, I 100% don't think it should be a deterrent for people to not run for council because they can't afford it. Serving on council shouldn't be subject to personal wealth. That I 100% don't, or because I have other investments, or because I have RSPs all topped up, or because I have a pension from my previous life and I can afford to do this job. That shouldn't be the defining, whatever decision maker.
What are you hearing from the community about this?
Mixed, but I will. So, okay, I'll tell you the truth. There's been some people that have posted a lot online about it and been the sound off and letters to the paper or whatever that are against it. Fine. But there have been people in sound off that have written letters and whatever that have been supportive. And I will tell you that no one to my face has told me that they're against it. But lots of people to my face and in emails have said, you know what, it's about time, 100% agree, whatever. And I'm not just saying that to bias people here, because I recognize that just because they tell me that doesn't mean that they represent any number of people or any majority. Just because you hear something face to face in the community does not mean it's the majority opinion. It just means that people who like me are happy to come and tell me that they think I deserve the increase, or if they don't like me but they respect the job, they believe that council is very important and they believe it's an underpaid position. So that is the honest truth, is that the majority by a good margin has been supportive of the decision, whether it's for me or the next councillor. And that's the truth, right? Even if I don't win the re-election next time, yeah, it's a bummer, but I still agree that whoever replaces me, if that person is willing to commit to full-time work, deserves the full-time payment. Like, that people should be paid for the work, and that's just the bottom line for me.
And this is a stupid question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So the councillors that didn't want it, will they turn it away?
Isn't that an interesting question? I don't know.
I'm just curious.
Because
I mean, I think
that
they deserve it
is
too.
something.
I know they might have voted no for their own reasons. I get that,
Yeah.
but like we talked about, and I interrupt you, but I want to bring this point up. If you don't think Adam or any of the councillors deserve it, I would suggest educating yourself on what it is they do. And you just talked about that, but I think that's the important aspect, folks. Before you run and make a decision, look at what that job requires, and compare it to your own job. See where you get paid. See where you are, because I think that's the other aspect of this that I think we're not being realistic about. It is a full-time job, and I wish I could argue with you on this one, but I can't, because I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. So with the councillors who voted against, and will they accept the payment? I mean, I'm not going to call them out if they do, and I don't really care if they do. But we all decided, here's the thing. Once council makes the decision, that's the decision everybody on council has to respect. So
Right.
if they respect the decision and accept the payment, whatever. It definitely will. It'll be back there, but it's not like I'm going to say, "Hey, you said," like I'm not trying to embarrass. I'm not that guy. Like, I'm not trying to
No, you're not.
embarrass. But I will say that I wonder sometimes, not just with this decision. So I'm not trying to, like I said, I'm definitely not critical of anybody on council and the way they make decisions, but I ask myself a lot of questions internally and have these debates internally. And I wonder if this question had come up not the year going into an election year, if the arguments would have been different, because they're hearing from people that were against it, and the election is in their minds. Or I'm wondering if more time ahead of the election would have changed it, because people would have gotten used to it. So I just wonder that, and it's not, and again, I'm not accusing or saying it's even a problem if that is a factor, but timing in politics, no matter what you do, is so important. And so I'm wondering if just waiting till now was bad timing across the board, and we're going, and even if it was not in the fall, if we had done it in the last budget, like, it's just such an interesting thing. So people have reactions at different times of year, and people are going to be getting they got a tax bill in August, they're going to be getting another tax bill in October. So when you talk about raises and people are getting their tax bills, like, it's such an interesting timing thing. And I wonder if there may be more residents who wouldn't be as offended or whatever about it if the timing was different too. I don't know this, but these are the questions that I wrestle with, and I'm sure other councillors wrestle with, not just with this decision, but when you make any decision, what does everything else that's going on in Norfolk County and the world say about the decisions that you make in that moment? So I think that, and that's why I won't be snooty or whatever, or like, self-righteous about it if the councillors who voted against accept the increase, which I'm sure they will, is because the factors may change by then, and so I can't fault them for a decision they made now based on these conditions. When, you know what I mean, it's not fair to I don't think to say you were bad because 2 years ago you said this and now you're doing that. That's such a bad way to look at decisions, but it's also such a bad way to view people around the table, and hold that grudge is such a nothing. It's nothing.
And I don't think, the other part I want to bring up, I get timing, I understand that, but I do think if you're honest with the community and you say, this is what it is, it doesn't matter about the timing, as long as you're being honest with them.
Yeah.
I think that's the bottom line, because you're not trying to hide anything. You're just saying,
No.
well, it's time. And if the public doesn't, if they don't like it, all you guys will find out next election, right?
Well, that's it too. And I think that part of, I don't know this, but I sometimes wonder, and I like to think maybe that the fact that I do just say, here it is,
Yep.
and I'll answer questions and I'll write the articles and I'll do the engagement. I wonder sometimes if that's why I get a different reaction in my community than maybe others get in their communities, is because, and I'm not being critical, because I don't really care how other people do it, but I'm saying, for me, I see positive results when you just tell people what it is, and whether they like it or not, and maybe they're mad at you then, but at least they respect the fact that you didn't try to go, oh, well, I know it's unfortunate, but we got to do it, and it's such a hard thing, and and I didn't like it, but here's it. Like, I just feel like if I give people the respect, now here's the thing: to get respect, you got to give respect, and so.
Yeah.
If I give them respect and tell them what it is, my hope is that they at least give me the respect back to say, we think you're wrong, but you didn't lie to us, so at least we respect you. And maybe that respect, even though they don't like what I'm saying to them, is enough to keep their support and keep their vote. Even if it's not, even if they vote against me, but as long as they're still listening and engaged and want to hear what I have to say, even if they don't like it and vote against me, that engagement is still important. So that's why I just tell people what it is, and take the criticism and then move on to the next thing, because they might like me after the next one. Who knows?
Yeah, you can only do what you can do.
Right.
So that's part one. We've talked about your raise. We're going to take a commercial break. You guys can tune in for part two. We're going to talk about economic development, and I want to ask you about the Municipal Development Corporation. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah.
And part two's coming up, folks. So tune in and find out.